Hello and welcome. Welcome again to the new series that we have all around GLP-1s, which I'm running with Becky Lever. So welcome to this. And this one in particular, we're talking to Sally, who is somebody who does take a GLP-1 medication. I think is probably the way to refer to it. But first of all, Becky, please introduce yourself.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. Thank you, Katrina. I'm Becky Lever, so I'm a personal trainer and online coach. And I know Sally from the basis that we work together in the gym. So I'm here to support this podcast activity with Katrina and inviting Sally today to talk to us about the GLP-1 journey and how we can help to support each other and making sure that we get the best outcomes from that journey.
And Sally, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Yeah, sure. So obviously I'm Sally. I am type 1 diabetic, but I've also been using Manjaro just over 6 months. And it's been an interesting journey. So yeah, looking forward to sharing some of that with you both and anyone who's watching.
Great. So, first of all, why did you get off? I mean, it sounds like an obvious question. Why did you get offered GLP-1? But I don't think it's always quite as straightforward as that.
Probably not. I think I should probably start off by saying that being a type 1 diabetic, being prescribed a GLP-1 is not common. It's certainly not a default for type 1 diabetics, and being prescribed a GLP-1 is actually an off-license prescription, meaning that it's been trialed but not trialed with enough people for it to be licensed. It is prescribed obviously by the NHS to me, by my diabetes team, but just for any type 1 diabetics that are listening, it's not like you can just go and ask for it. Unfortunately, I think I'm some kind of an informal trial with my local diabetes team, if I'm honest, even though they didn't say that. But why? It was a really interesting appointment I had with my team actually back in April, May time. So I was describing the challenge that I have with being diabetic and being in a bit of a spiral with using insulin, which was contributing to me putting on weight as well as just normally putting on weight, which kind of, using insulin makes you put on more weight and kind of going down that spiral of putting on weight. I've also always really struggled with food noise, as in food's been my go-to, whether I'm happy, sad, stressed, food's always been my comfort. And that food noise I was finding really hard to manage. And obviously that that had an effect on the management of my diabetes, obviously, and the management of my weight, which also obviously affects my diabetes. So I wasn't going into that review meeting with them expecting to be, or even asking to be on a GLP-1. I actually made a joke about it when I was talking about my challenges that I had with my weight at the time. I made a joke about it and I said, oh, if I could be prescribed Ozempic, as I made the joke about, I said I probably would, making a complete joke. And they went, well, and that's how it happened. I was really surprised by it. I think they prescribed it to me because they saw the challenges that I was having with my weight, which obviously had an impact on my diabetes very directly and very obviously, and also the challenges with my general relationship with food, if I'm honest. So I think it was kind of twofold. And I think they thought I was, I do manage my diabetes well. So I think they thought that prescribing the GLP-1 was a safe option for me as well, because obviously with weight loss you need a much higher level of management of your diabetes. So I think they felt that I could handle that side of things, because obviously with weight loss comes a less need for higher levels of insulin, and needing to constantly adjust insulin. So I think it's probably worth saying that as well, is that has been quite a challenge. So I've gone off question there.
No, but it's really interesting because one thing does sort of lead on to another. And so it was interesting, your natural reaction was, you were quite sort of surprised. Were you sort of, did you take it as a positive surprise?
I did. I mean, certainly for the last couple of years, I've really struggled with my weight. I've had lots of quite stressful things going on in my personal life, family stuff, which has made me put on weight because I've been using food as my support. So I was really at the point where I really had to do something about it, but was really struggling to do that through normal diet and exercise. I was really struggling, particularly with the exercise, because I felt like I was so overweight at that point that exercise, compared to how fit I was in the past, when exercise was relatively easy, I was reluctant to go back to exercise because I'd put on so much weight, because I knew it was going to be so difficult and so disheartening. So it was a welcome suggestion from my diabetes team, albeit very surprising suggestion. I mean, I already had a positive view towards people that use GLP-1s, because my attitude is, well, I'd rather be using one and be healthy at a healthier weight and putting less stress on my body, added to the fact that I'm obviously diabetic, which is obviously already putting myself at a slight disadvantage health-wise. I'd rather be in a position where I'm taking it. And okay, yes, I appreciate that it might at that point, I was like, okay, well, I might get side effects. But for me, that trade-off was worth it, because I really wanted to lose weight and be healthier.
So once they said, yes, here you are, what sort of support came with that?
Pretty much none, if
Oh,
I'm honest, from them, from the NHS. No, we've all been to the NHS appointments, whether it's contraception or whatever, and they give you some photocopied handout that's been going around for about 25 years. Not even that. Nothing. Literally nothing. They didn't tell me what potential side effects there could be. They didn't tell me what I should be doing, diet, exercise wise. They just went, do you want to try this? Which one do you want to try? Do you want to try Ozempic or Manjaro? They did say Manjaro's had better effects than type 2 diabetics. And I was like, okay, well, let's try that then. But literally nothing. They prescribed it. That was the assistance. I really had to do that off my own bat, in terms of like, is this side effect that I'm getting normal, or am I just sick? What should I be eating? What should I be doing exercise wise? What's normal? What's not normal? I mean, as I said, I was happy to do that, and I'm used to doing that. I'm a research type orientated person, so I'm happy to go off and read and use ChatGPT and read articles and whatever. But from them, nothing. Which, and to be fair, I've had that conversation with them today. Funnily enough, I actually had a review with them today, a 6-month review, 8 months after. And then that was some of the feedback that I gave them, because I said I was okay with it, because I was happy to go off and do my own research and be proactive about it. I said, but if you were giving it to other people, type 1 diabetic or not, with this level of support, for me, that's really concerning that you just go, off you go. Things might have changed in the last 6-8 months, and they might be doing things differently now, but that was my experience from being prescribed it by a diabetes team. So yeah,
I mean, I think it's obviously it's bewildering, first of all, frightening, and there's always that thing, which is why Becky and I are here doing our series, is because how do you know the information that you're reading, particularly on ChatGPT? How on earth do you know it's it's the correct information?
Yeah,
So
I think it was mainly around, I'm feeling this. Is this related to the GLP-1? Or is this just something else that's happening to me? And is this normal? Like, luckily I have very curly hair, so you can't tell, but I have lost so much hair. Like, and I know that's not a GLP, that's not because I've taken a GLP-1, that's because I've lost a lot of weight in a short amount of time. And if you were to lose a lot of weight in a short amount of time, you'd probably still have hair loss. So it's not because of the GLP-1 per se. But I didn't know that. I was just suddenly like, why have I got this hair coming out? Why have I got more hair coming out than normal? Is that normal? Like, why is this happening? Have I got something else wrong with me? Like, but you know, after a bit of research, okay, you read, okay, yeah, no, when you lose a lot of weight, your body does, you know, your body does tend to do that. So, okay, that was slightly reassuring insofar that like it was normal, it wasn't just me. But I didn't know that that was going to happen. So yeah, that was a little bit. That's been my only, personally, that's been my only really bad side effect.
Okay.
As it's
And
unfortunate.
so you've been on it since, I think, did you say April?
Yeah, about May time I started using
April,
it.
May
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
And so and obviously it's been a success from what you're saying. You know, you're feeling good, and you know, we'll come on to your gym training with Becky in a moment.
Yeah.
But what do you know, did you have any thoughts or expectations of how long you're going to be on it? Do you think this is going to be something that you're going to stay on for life, as some people think they are, or are you thinking, well, no, I'll give it a 12-month shot sort of thing?
Yeah, interesting question. I didn't anticipate it being a long-term forever thing. The way they spoke to me about it was very much like, you will be on this for life. And that was the kind of the one thing about using it where I was like, I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure about using something. And I know the contents of GLP-1s have been used for other medical purposes for longer than people have been talking about GLP-1s for weight loss. So I know it's safe in that respect. But like being told that you're going to have to take any medication for life, I was a little bit like, I'm not sure how I feel about that. And what the side effects of that are for me long term. So I was very apprehensive about that. Obviously, I know I don't have to take it. I'm under no obligation to take it for a long period of time. And I've read information and feedback from other people who are equally on both sides of that argument. I think my personal experience, when I have either forgotten to take it or I've been away, and it's kind of been, because it's a once weekly injection, and it's been over that week, so say I've left it, I don't know, 10 or 12 days, what's been really interesting is how much things return in that time. And by that I mean the food noise, the hunger. So I mean, I've always had a relatively low dose compared to someone who was perhaps doing this privately. So I'm only on a 5 dose, which is quite low. So it has worked really effectively, but it's kind of plateauing now. But I really do notice the difference when I've maybe delayed it slightly over the 1 week time period. The food noise really comes back. I find myself just subconsciously eating more. I look at what's on my plate and I'm like, that's a lot more. Or I'm snacking on things. And that's kind of scary in a way, because I don't want to go back to where I was. I don't want to go back to the size and the weight that I was. Just there's no way I want that to happen. But I'm kind of very apprehensive about stopping it. But equally, I'm still weighing that up against taking a medication forever. And that's really interestingly, that was just their, you will be taking this forever. That was their take on it. You will be. There was no kind of suggestion that there was another way. Obviously, I know there is another way. I could taper myself off it and try really hard, but willpower, I don't have it. I don't have the willpower that some people do. So I'm very apprehensive about it, taking it forever, but equally not taking it. So yeah.
And I suppose what it's done, it's given you, I think it's funny, isn't it? Because when you go somewhere, you're given medication. And the fact is that, you know, this medication, the medication is to stop various things. And one of them is to lose weight. Generally, that's how people see it. So you think, well, if I've lost weight, well, that's fine. That's when I come off it. And I suppose that's the first shock, thinking, well, I've reached my goal weight and I'm coming off it. And then the next, but because you've let it lapse, which I'm sure many people do for whatever reasons, it's life, it's given you that glimpse of, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
You know,
And just
this is
how
what
easy
the future could be.
Yeah, and just how easily I could see that weight slowly coming
Mm.
back on
But
potentially.
you've
And that's,
obviously taken action
well, I
for
have, yes,
various
to be
reasons, because
fair.
I want to introduce Becky now to
Yeah,
say, first it would be really interesting to understand why you approached Becky, and clearly that's because of the background work you've done on it, and then how you found Becky has supported you in this
yeah.
journey.
Yeah, I mean, I really, when I got prescribed this, I was like, right, well, I have to take advantage of this as a time to just make lots of changes, not just to, I didn't want to just take a weekly injection and leave it at that. I was like, right, well, I may as well make the most of this. If this is going to be the big change in my health, then I need to take advantage of it. So as well as doing the GLP-1 injections, I have and following a low carb diet, which suits me. I wouldn't necessarily recommend that to everyone, but that suits me in terms of managing my diabetes, which I think I know has really helped. And also I've really upped my exercise. So my cardio, which I felt like I was happy to do on my own, swimming, running, walking. But from what I had read, I knew that I was losing muscle mass as well as weight. And I was like, well, I don't want to be skinny and unhealthy. Not that I'm ever going to be skinny. I've never been skinny, but I don't want to be slimmer and unhealthy. I want to be a strong old person. That's my aim, really. I want to be a strong old person. So I found the idea of the gym, and certainly in terms of like the weight part of it, using the weights, using the machines, using the free weights, one, very intimidating because I didn't know what I was doing. Two, well, the main thing, I didn't really know what I was doing, or doing the right thing and what I should be doing. So that's why I reached out to Becky over other PTs, partly because we looked to be a similar-ish age, and I didn't want some young 21-year-old man, no offense, male PTs, but I wanted someone that understood my journey with being perimenopausal, which Becky put on her profile, and being a woman with all the challenges that come with that, and someone who I felt who would understand where I was coming from, which wasn't just to lose weight and to get fit, but there was more going on in my journey than that.
So, and Becky, I know that Sally's obviously not the first person on GLP-1 to approach you. And how do you find that when people approach you, do they tell you straight away that they are actually on the medication and that's why they're coming to see you? Or is it something you discover a bit later as you start your training with them?
Usually it's really important. So I'm freelance PT, so I work at our local sports centre, which is where Sally and I train together. And I also work with online clients, and I work with people privately as well, in my own business. So typically when we first engage with a customer, we do a PAR-Q type activity. So with the sports centre, that's done at the outset of people joining as members. And then what we do as individual PTs is obviously engage with our clients, is start and have a conversation first off. Is there anything that they are struggling with? Is there anything medically that they need to inform us of? Is there anything going on in their lives that we should be aware of in terms of how to work with them as trainers and with a client? So we want to make sure that we get the maximum benefit out of the sessions that we have together. So my clients, typically in that conversation, it's an opportunity for them to be able to disclose info. Tell me, where are you at, what you're doing, why are you here, what's your purpose, what's the goals that you're trying to achieve. And it usually comes out in conversation then, because we create a safe space for people. There's lots of people I've trained that have been very reluctant to attend the gym, so for them to actually step foot through the door and actually join up is quite a big thing, or come and take a taster session. So obviously when working with Sally, we did that conversation initially, right, why are you here, what is it that you want to try and achieve? And it came out in the conversation, instantly. On a GLP-1 journey, as Sally's already explained, the reasons as to why, Sally felt the need to come to the gym and actually get some guidance and understand more about how to strength train within the gym and what equipment to use and how to use it best to facilitate her. So it was great. I mean, we've been working together now, Sally, probably 2 or 3 months, I would say. So yeah, and it's been good. Sally comes every Friday morning, very early in the morning, get it done, get it over and done with. But we work on a general a general all over the body strength resistance training program, 45 minutes. We don't need masses of time to do this. It's not hours and hours, but we do know that obviously with working with GLP-1 clients, their muscle mass and the reduction of muscle mass is prevalent. And to ensure that we keep healthy and maintained, we do need to make sure that we resistance train. Cardio is actually really important, obviously, for maintaining health and prevention of heart disease and all those other illnesses that we want to try and prevent. And exercise and movement is great for our mental health as much as it is for our physical health. But resistance training as perimenopausal women and with the GLP-1 weight loss activity is paramount. I can't express how important it is to ensure that we are doing some form of resistance training. We are very fortunate in the facility that I'm working with that we have recently just been through a GLP-1 training program that's been offered by the facility, which gives us all understanding and education as to what to experience and how to work with clients on a GLP-1 journey, which is invaluable because there's so many people now taking these drugs, which is beneficial and helpful to each of those individuals for different reasons and different purposes, as Sally's explained from her point of view. Other clients I work with have purely done it because they wanted to lose weight. They weren't happy. They, were of the BMI scale that enables them to be able to take it. I've got other clients that have gone and done it privately, but there has been a recognition at some point in their journey that actually I need to be healthy and I need to be fit with this, which means I do need to exercise. And it isn't just about walking, cycling, running, cardio activity. It is about resistance training. So yes, so we worked together, building out a program for Sally to basically do, as I say, an all over muscle conditioning workout where we are just challenging the muscles each time and progressively overloading, which basically means adding weight as we become proficient in the exercises. A weight, we increase the weight, so we just generally help to build the muscle tissue stronger as we work together.
And Sally, how do you feel now, having stepped in, taken those first steps, which, it is brave and it is hard. Now that you've got into it, are you happy to go into the gym on your own now to carry on the work?
Yeah, I am, and I do. Maybe not quite as much as I should be, but I do. Yeah, and yeah, it is. I do feel a lot more confident in knowing what I'm doing, what I should be doing. Pick my times to go that suit me. I still prefer it when it's quieter, but yeah, I do, and I'm glad that I did, because I don't think I would be doing what I'm doing if I hadn't got some help with that and some guidance as to what I should be doing and what that should look like and how often that should be and so forth. I don't think I would have had the knowledge or the motivation, to be honest. Like Becky said, every Friday morning I know that that's where I'm going to be, and it's a real incentive to keep that going as well. Yeah, definitely.
And I think, Becky, you made a really good point, is that if even if you go into the gym, lots of people, it's very easy just to do the cardio side of it and to leave the weights and all the machines because they're a bit daunting. You don't know what you should be doing. What weight should I be trying without hurting myself? So I'm sure that you would be one of the first people to recommend to have a personal trainer to start you on your journey.
Yeah, and I've worked with a number of clients, so I'm very fortunate. Sally's obviously a regular customer that comes and sees me on a Friday each week, which is great, and it's really good because we build a rapport and you get to know each other quite well. And we've had weeks where Sally's come in and low on energy because it's just been a week, and it's just trying to motivate through that session. But I absolutely would advocate, and the government guidelines are to try and strength train 2 to 3 times a week. That's been increased more recently because of the benefit and understanding how resistance training affects us as humans and how beneficial it is to us, and to maintain that through later life. Starting early is obviously better prevention rather than cure. But if any time to start is the right time to start, but we should absolutely all be resistance training in some capacity. And you don't have to have a PT. It's not that you need somebody there to be your motivator or your guide or to keep you accountable, which is fundamentally what we do in the long term. But initially it's about that knowledge, that education of what to do, how to do it, how to start, and then you can take that journey on as an individual yourself. We don't advocate that you have to have somebody there with you to do it, but that's why we offer generally when people join the facility is, come and have a free taster session with PT. I work for the Everyone Active group, actually, locally in Alton. So people can come in and come and try it. We have taster days to encourage people as members to come and have a go at PT, and just to learn and understand, what to do, set some goals, if you like, understand how to achieve the outcomes that you want. And that resistance training can be part of that. We will work with what the customer is trying to achieve, but we will always try, and I certainly will advocate with my clients to put some form of resistance training into their programs on a weekly basis. I'd rather see people out in nature, walking and cycling and, having fun doing that, rather than hours and hours on a treadmill. But if that's what somebody enjoys and the weather's terrible, then, great, get in the gym. As long as you're moving and you're positively improving your health and well-being, that's an advantage, definitely.
Absolutely. Well, thank you very much, particularly Sally, for coming in, because I think it's quite a brave thing to come out and actually talk about it. And I honestly think the more that people can talk about it with their friends, and for people to understand what it is, and to understand it isn't just about the actual weight necessarily, it is about the food noise. And that's something that Becky and I are going to concentrate on another session, is understanding what all the other real issues are that are covered, as to why people take GLP-1s and the advantages of it. So
Yeah.
thank you both very much indeed.
Thank you. And I'll see you on Friday morning, Sally.
Yes.
Okay, thanks, both.
Bye.